Arkansas's execution of Kenneth Williams. A horrifying end and lingering questions. Did the execution of Kenneth Williams in Arkansas cross a line? The reports of a horrifying process raise serious ethical and legal questions about capital punishment in America. This case demands a closer look. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Kenneth Williams was put to death on April 27, 2017, as the fourth inmate executed in Arkansas within a single week. This rapid series of executions was driven by the impending expiration date of the state's supply of midazolam. Witnesses to Williams' execution described disturbing scenes. He reportedly convulsed and lurched repeatedly after the lethal injection was administered, leading to concerns about whether the procedure was botched. Associated Press reporter Kelly Kissel, present at the execution, reported that Williams lurched 15 times in quick succession. This observation was corroborated by two other media witnesses who were also present. Adding to the disquiet, witnesses reported hearing Williams after the microphone in the execution chamber had been turned off. This raises questions about his level of consciousness and potential suffering. The use of midazolam, a sedative intended to render inmates unconscious before the administration of other lethal drugs, is at the heart of the controversy. Midazolam has a documented history of problematic executions. Critics argue that midazolam is not always effective in preventing pain and suffering. This has led to concerns that inmates may be conscious and experiencing excruciating pain during the execution process. Arkansas's rush to use its stock of midazolam before it expired further fueled the controversy. This raised questions about whether the state prioritized expediency over ensuring a humane execution. The use of expired or expiring drugs in executions raises ethical questions about the state's responsibility to ensure a painless and dignified death, even for those convicted of heinous crimes. Following the execution, Williams' attorney, Sean Nolan, demanded a thorough investigation into the events that transpired. He cited the history of midazolam in botched executions as a key reason for concern. Nolan argued that the unusual movements and sounds reported by witnesses suggested that Williams may have experienced unnecessary pain and suffering during the execution. State officials, however, downplayed the concerns raised by witnesses and Williams' attorney. Governor Asa Hutchinson maintained confidence in the state's execution protocol. Hutchinson stated that the executions were carried out according to established procedures and that he saw no indication of pain on Williams' part. This assessment was based on a routine verbal review from the Department of Correction. J.R. Davis, a spokesman for Hutchinson, described the lurches as an involuntary muscular reaction to the midazolam. This explanation was met with skepticism by critics. Nolan dismissed Davis's explanation as trying to whitewash the reality of what happened and reiterated his call for a full and transparent investigation into the execution. Kenneth Williams' life was marked by both tragedy and violence. He had a troubled childhood, including reports of abuse and early exposure to drugs and gangs. In 1998, Williams was convicted of the murder of a University of Arkansas student. This crime marked the beginning of a series of violent acts that would ultimately lead to his execution. In 1999, Williams escaped from prison. During his escape, he committed further crimes, including the murder of a former prison warden. Williams also caused the death of a man in a car accident during a police chase. These crimes solidified his reputation as a dangerous and violent offender. He was ultimately sentenced to death for the murder of the former prison warden. This sentence was carried out despite ongoing legal challenges and concerns about the fairness of his trial. In his final statement, Williams expressed remorse for his crimes and sought forgiveness from the families of his victims. This expression of remorse was seen by some as a sign of genuine repentance. Interestingly, the Greenwood family, whose relative Williams murdered, requested clemency for him. They even brought Williams' daughter and granddaughter to visit him before his execution. Other victim families, however, supported the execution as a means of achieving closure and justice for the crimes committed against their loved ones. The differing perspectives of the victims' families highlight the complex and emotional nature of capital punishment. It underscores the difficulty in finding a resolution that satisfies all parties involved. Williams' execution was delayed by more than 3 hours due to last-minute appeals filed by his lawyers in state court and the U.S. Supreme Court. These appeals sought to halt the execution based on concerns about the execution protocol. For his last meal, Williams requested the sacrament of communion to be provided by his spiritual advisor. This request was granted by the Arkansas Department of Correction. The ADC also provided Williams with the same tray of food given to the other prisoners at the Cummins unit. This detail highlights the routine and bureaucratic nature of the execution process, even in its final moments. The delays and final requests underscore the gravity of the situation and the legal and spiritual considerations that surround capital punishment. The execution of Kenneth Williams highlights the complexities and controversies surrounding capital punishment in the United States. The reports of a horrifying execution process raise serious ethical and legal questions. The case also underscores the emotional toll that capital punishment takes on victims' families, both those who support the execution and those who oppose it. The ongoing debate over the methods used to carry out the death penalty, particularly the use of midazolam, remains a critical issue in the discussion about capital punishment. What do you think? Was the execution of Kenneth Williams a just punishment, or did it cross a line? The questions raised by this case demand further scrutiny and ethical reflection. Take action. Research. Delve deeper into the use of midazolam in executions and its potential for causing pain and suffering. Engage. Share this video to spark conversations about capital punishment and its ethical implications. Advocate. Contact your elected officials to express your views on capital punishment and demand greater transparency and accountability in the execution process. Donate. Support organizations working to reform the criminal justice system and advocate for alternatives to the death penalty. Subscribe. Stay informed about important issues in criminal justice and human rights by subscribing to our channel.